Hello, hello. I'm Vivian McGrath from vivianmcgrath.com, and I wanted to come on and talk about a choice that I made. That was literally the choice that changed my life. The choice not to stay a victim of a toxic relationship, but to choose freedom and the life that I wanted to go on and create. And it was a very empowering choice. So I wanted to share it. You know, people look at me now and they think, I look after myself. I'm living a great life, but it didn't start that way. I started off at rock bottom, and my rock bottom was after I'd fled a violent man, and I literally had nothing but what I could fit into my car, my baby. I literally did what I call a moonlight flit. I grabbed my baby, I threw whatever I could into the car, mainly the stuff for my child, and I fled. And it was a very, very lonely time in the few weeks after that, because I was in a bit of shock and I was thinking, how did I get here? I'd grown up quite a privileged life, and not that people from privileged backgrounds aren't victims of domestic violence. There is no race, there is no gender, there is no religion, there is no status that domestic abuse will reach. But, my overwhelming memories of my childhood were very, very happy. And there was no abuse in my family. So I had no history of this. So when I ended up in this toxic relationship that turned out to be quite violent in the end, I was blindsided. I didn't expect it. And I'd never had any experience like that. So when I came away from it, I was in a very lonely place. I thought, how did I get here? My background was very happy. I had a good education. I traveled abroad. I had a lovely childhood. And I just couldn't, what's the word? I couldn't understand where it had all came from and how I got there. And then what happened was, in the stillness, when I was away from the toxicity, because when I was in that volatile relationship, I had to suppress all my emotions just to survive. If I felt any, he would feel it worse, and I'd be vulnerable to more abuse. So I had to suppress everything, keep my head down to keep the peace. And so I felt nothing and went numb to survive. But when I left, every single emotion erupted out of me, poured out of me. All the years of emotions I wasn't allowed to feel poured out of me. And they were everything: anger, sadness, loneliness, you name it. It flooded and overwhelmed me. And I literally put my baby to bed at night and I just sobbed for weeks and weeks. I have no idea how long for. It was probably the most painful experience I've ever had, apart from, of course, the violence that I experienced at his hands. And I know a lot of you feel this way. And I started to have so much self-doubt. What if he's right? What if nobody will love me as he did? That's how brainwashed I was. It wasn't about love. It was never about love. It was always about control. But there I was at rock bottom, feeling that maybe nobody was ever going to love me like the person who abused me did. I mean, it's just awful, feeling unloved, unworthy, and that his love was possibly the best I could ever get. Not good enough. That's how I felt. That my life was over before I ever had even really lived it. But don't worry, I did not stay there long. I could have, because in a way it's easier to feel sorry for yourself than to face all these fears. The emotions that erupted out of me for those weeks after were unfamiliar to me, and they actually really frightened me. And you know what? There's an emotional payoff to staying a victim, because there's a strange comfort in what's familiar, even if it's dysfunctional, no matter how dysfunctional it is. It's your comfort zone. It's what you're used to. So it's much easier staying a victim than fighting hard to rip that comfort blanket off you, face your fears, and move forward to an unknown future that scares you just as much, you know. And also, everyone rallies around you and gives you attention, you know. Oh, poor you, it's awful what happened to you, they say. And you could wallow in that, being a victim. But you know what? That was not a comfort blanket that I was prepared to wear. There is no way I was going to spend another day being a victim. I had a child to live for. I had enough of dysfunction and emotional abuse, physical abuse. I'd had enough. My baby and I deserved better than that. I knew it. I knew there was a better life out there for us. So this is the choice I made, that my rock bottom was going to be the springboard that I could use to elevate my life to a whole new level, to greatness, if you like. And from there, I would fight to create the life that I dreamed of for me and my son, no matter how painful and what it took. I chose to walk through that dark tunnel of pain and fear instead of pushing all those emotions back down, suppressing them, and pretending my life was okay, because it wasn't. And it was hard, and it took a lot of work, I won't lie. But you know what? My life is now amazing. And despite what happened in my past, because I chose to believe that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you if you let it. Unless you choose to find the gift, no matter how horrendous the challenge, learn the lesson. And by find the gift, what I mean is, no matter how hideous the challenge is that or the experience you've had in your life, ask yourself, what is the gift in it? What is the lesson I can learn about myself? What is the courage it can give me to change my life for the better? Otherwise, and what is it that I can learn about myself to grow so that I don't stay stuck believing that I'm just unlucky in love? It's not about being unlucky in love. You know, yes, you've had a lot of bad luck, but you can choose to create better luck next time. You know, if you do sit there thinking, life happens to me, I'm unlucky in love, I'm never going to find anyone that loves me like that, you're just going to continue to attract the same toxic people into your life over and over and over again, and convince yourself that it's just not in your destiny to have healthy relationships or find healthy, joyful, intimate, and beautiful love with someone who shows you what unconditional love is really about. Is that what you want? It's not. You want to find that joyful, intimate love. You want to find unconditional love. So many women I see, they come to me and they're doing this. They say they're at rock bottom, but I know they're not, because they say, I'm at rock bottom. I can't stay like this. I can't live like this anymore. But then they 2 minutes later start to justify why it's not that bad, why that person really did love me. They just had a bit of a nasty side. They go back to suppressing the painful emotions, and they keep busy to stay numb. Anything to avoid the pain, anything to avoid the fear of the unknown and the uncomfortable getting out of your comfort zone that's needed to throw off that dysfunctional comfort blanket that you have around me when you stay as a victim. Does this make sense? Put it in the comments below if it's not making sense. And they convince themselves, well, at least I was better than a year ago. But, you know, they're describing how lonely, depressed, and isolated they are. But at least I'm not as bad as a year ago, you know, and this is why I know that they're suppressing their emotions again. They're denying how bad the situation is. And they're just thinking, you know what, it's not that bad. I've just had a bit of bad luck lately. It will all be okay. That's not choosing to be empowered. Or they say, I'm never going to date again, as they've accepted that true love is not on the cards for them. But then they say, but I'm really afraid I'll end up dying alone and growing old and being lonely. You know, as I said, they see their life happening to them, that it's out of their control. And I can almost see them pulling on that old dysfunctional comfort blanket back around them tightly. And, you know, sadly, it's not rock bottom enough. I knew I was genuinely at rock bottom when that was not an option for me. I was not prepared to live like that anymore. I'd had enough of dysfunction. I'd had enough of heartache. I'd had enough of feeling unloved, unworthy, not good enough. And then I simply made the choice that no matter how frightening it was to face my fears, no matter how scary it was thinking, I don't know what the future's like, I just thought, you know what, it's got to be better than this. And then I made the choice that I was going to do whatever it took to heal my life. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you want to know how to break free from what I call this unconscious shame cycle that keeps you going back into that comfort zone, because even though it feels painful and it's a lonely, isolated place, it's more familiar to you than throwing it off, facing your fears and doing what it takes to run towards the future. And it keeps you stuck and going around in that, what I call the shame cycle. If you want to break free from that, then please do check out my free ebook, which is all about that, what I call the shame cycle, and how you get stuck in it and trapped. And then you are thinking life's out of control and not knowing how to break free because you feel so trapped. So do check out that. Do check that out. Let me just... Oh, hello, Sean. Thank you for joining me. When I finish this, you'll be able to watch the replay, so don't worry. So I'll just put this on the screen, that if you would like to find out more about breaking free from the unconscious shame cycle, which is what I call that place you get stuck in, even though you think you're at rock bottom, you just can't see your way out of it. And you can't seem to find that place, which is where you can open yourself up to healthy love, intimate love, joyful love, unconditional love, with someone who really does care about you, lift you up, support you. And you can feel free to be vulnerable with. You don't have to suppress your emotions because you're so scared and you're walking on eggshells. You can be free to be the person that you really were meant to be, and just build trust together. So check out my ebook, vivianmcgrath.com/e.book. And let me know in the comments below. If Jamie says it's exactly how I feel. You know, you only know you're at rock bottom, if I'm really honest, when you are at the point where you say, I am not going to stay here. I'm going to fight and do whatever it takes to change my life because I'm tired of it and I want to go on to live an amazing life. You know deep down it's out there for you. And if you really are at rock bottom, then I know you'll do what I did and you'll do whatever it takes to fight for that dream, to create that life that you want. It is hard. It's painful. You know, as I said, when I left and I was at that place, all the emotions I'd suppressed all for years and years and years just came pouring out of me. And it was really quite frightening, that fear of the unknown and that fear of the future. But then I thought, there's nothing worse than this. And if I don't find the courage to break free and create the life I want, well, then I'm trapping myself. And I'll only have myself to blame if I stayed pitting myself for what happened in the past. Because we all have a choice. We get to choose or decide. We get to choose. I am going to pour all of that love and energy onto focus onto me, healing me. And I'm going to do whatever it takes and get the mentorship and the support that I need to break free from this unconscious shame cycle. Or we can decide to stay stuck there as a victim. You can't do both. So even though you feel overwhelmed and trapped sometimes, you always have a choice. There is always a choice. You cannot control anyone or anything around you. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control you and the attitude and mindset you have around how you respond to whatever challenge happens to you in your life. If you can find the gift in it. And I say this having almost been murdered by my ex, but I'm serious. I now look back and I don't regret what happened to me because, I'm very glad I'm alive. I don't regret it. I found the gift. I said, where does that rock bottom? What does that teach me about me? How did I get there when I had no history of it? And I had friends who always attracted really loving relationship, but I kept repeating this pattern. What is it about me? How can I improve myself? What do I need to do? You know, we always have a choice. So I hope that helps. Do get my ebook, vivianmcgrath.com/ebook, and just make the choice. Do you want to stay pulling that comfort blanket of dysfunction around you ever more tightly and stay stuck there forever? Or do you want to fight to create the dream life that you see me living now? And sometimes people forget the rock bottom I came from. You know, if I can do that, then anybody can. So I hope that's helped. And thank you, Karen, for saying you're great. That's very kind of you, and it's very nice to see you here. Thank you, Jamie, Sean, and Karen, for your comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.